Florida picked the wrong pharmacy to rob.
When ordinary people face extraordinary challenges, heroes emerge. Today, we'll uncover tales of bravery where courage meets chaos, from quick-thinking bystanders to unexpected champions. Let's dive in. Number 1. Brave disarm. Never bring a fake gun to a real fight, and this masked figure found that in a very hard way, a guy was sitting casually with his son in a store when suddenly a masked man barged in. The masked man pulled a gun and pointed it directly at the owner. Without missing a beat, the owner snatched the gun right out of the would-be robber's hand. He then proceeded to give the suspect a really good beating for his efforts. Number 2. Liquor lesson. A guy walked into a liquor store and made a beeline for the clerk at the cashier counter. He pulled out a gun and thought he had got the upper hand. But surprise, surprise, he was way too slow. The clerk grabbed the guy's hand with one hand and yanked the gun away with the other, then pointed it right at the would-be robber's forehead. The robber was completely panicked and embarrassed and stumbled back. Number 3. Hero fired. Sometimes breaking the rules can save your life. An employee was working the night shift at an Oak Grove plaid pantry when a masked man slid a hatchet knife his way. Scared for his life, he quickly pulled out his gun. The sight of the gun brought the would-be robber to his knees, and he hurriedly apologized and left. Too bad they fired the employee for his actions. Number 4. Date night.
A couple enjoying a night out at a restaurant ends up stopping a masked and armed man who was trying to rob the place.
Date nights sometimes come with unexpected duties. In Louisville, Kentucky, a masked man armed with a gun entered a restaurant and demanded cash from the employees. Little did he know, off-duty police officers were enjoying a quiet date night at a nearby booth. Noticing the commotion, they didn't hesitate, and they drew their service pistols and confronted the robber. The suspect bolted, but our dynamic duo chased him out of the restaurant and caught him about a block away. Thanks to their quick action, the robber was apprehended and now faces multiple charges, including robbery. Number 5. Charity. This thief is the lowest of the low, stealing a charity box. Thankfully, a bystander is there to tackle him down and retrieve the charities. Too bad the thief got away. Number 6. Mob revenge. This duo was out on a roll, robbing people left and right. But then, justice caught up. As they were escaping after snatching valuables from 2 men, another bystander was watching. He quickly gave their motorbike a push and ran inside his home. After that, the duo of thieves were left on foot, trying to run away from the mess. They ran back to their bike, once again attempting to flee. But the bystanders had started throwing stuff at them. No matter what they tried at this point, it was over. A huge crowd had gathered going straight after the thieves to serve some justice. All in all, it was a team effort to bring down these pesky robbers. Number 7. Wrong victim. Here is another man out to rob people on his motorbike. But this time he picked the wrong victim. The man is not about to let his valuables go. He tackles the would-be robber, bringing him to the ground. The robber is startled and decides it is better to run away. Just like that, a robbery attempt is foiled. Number 8. Chase. These 2 people were in a car when suddenly they saw some robbers get into a car. So like true heroes, they called 911 and started tailing the thief's car. They kept updating the cops about where the car was heading. Their valuable information allowed the cops to catch up. Then the best part happened. Our heroes here helped box in the suspect's car so he couldn't escape. Ain't that something? Thanks to these good people, a crime did not go unpunished. Number 9. Quick karma. Never mess with a cowboy who had just removed his glasses. This young boy was about to find out. A young boy in a black hoodie and cap strolled into a grocery store. He was waving a gun at the cashier and a guy in a white hat. He was shouting for money and was totally focused on doing this stuff. But then a lady sneaked up behind him and the robber glanced back and lost his focus. This was the moment the cowboy was looking for. He charged, grabbed the gun, and pinned the robber down. The guy thrashed and squirmed, even wriggled out of his shirt and tried to escape. Just when he thought he was home free, the store's co-workers swooped in and tackled him. It was game over for the boy. In a showdown, always bet on the cowboy. Number 10. Campus courage. Heroes are made in moments, not minutes. Have a look at this one. In 2016, chaos erupted in a Seattle school when a gunman entered a college library. Just as the robber paused to reload, a brave guy, barefoot and determined, sprang into action. He charged at the gunman, tackled him to the ground, and wrestled the gun away. The assailant was not giving up and pulled out a knife. Our hero didn't flinch. He leapt again and disarmed the attacker a second time, pinning him down until help arrived. This incredible act of bravery saved countless lives. This real-life hero showed us that courage doesn't wear a cape. Sometimes it's just a guy without shoes, willing to risk it all. Number 11. Pinned down. This robber was robbing this place in broad daylight, and the bystanders are not happy about it. One guy slowly creeps up behind the robber and in one swift moment gets a hold of him. He gets him to a clear part and then hangs on tight to stop the robber from doing anything. But he is barely holding on. Thankfully, the bystanders get a dose of courage and jump in as well to keep the robber down. Look at that, he is not going anywhere. Number 12. Cane justice. Never underestimate a grandpa with a cane. In Columbus, Ohio, dramatic body camera footage caught police in hot pursuit of an armed suspect outside a library. As the chase neared a quick-thinking grandpa, he didn't hesitate and tripped the suspect with his cane, bringing the wild run to an abrupt end. Number 13. Gas station glory. Have a look at this guy at a gas station, probably just buying some snacks, when two masked men burst in. As the robbers moved closer, he sprang into action, and within milliseconds, he grabbed the gun-wielding thug and flipped the script entirely. The second robber was clearly panicked and bolted out of there, abandoning his partner. Our hero held the remaining robber tightly, disarmed him, and kept him pinned until the cops showed up. Number 14. Metal bat robbery. This guy was robbing this store with just a metal bat. Bad idea. The bystanders were hesitant to help at first, but this one guy had the guts needed. He pushed his trolley against the robber again, and it worked. Another guy came up from behind and caught a hold of the criminal. After that, it was quick work disarming him and giving him a good thrashing for his efforts. Number 15. Home defense. When trouble knocks, be ready to answer. A man in Las Cruces, New Mexico, heard relentless knocking at his door. Sensing something off, he peeked through the peephole and saw a suspicious man without a mask and another masked man behind him, trusting his instincts. He retrieved his rifle, loaded with just 5 rounds, and prepared to defend his home. As the intruders forcefully kicked in, he stood his ground with the weapon in hand. Remarkably, he held his fire and assessed the situation. The homeowner's quick thinking and preparedness prevented a potential tragedy. Number 17. Pushing off. Here is a package thief thinking he can get away from the cops. Just as the cop approaches him, he makes a run for it. But not so fast, buddy. This bystander catches on to what SI up and quickly jumps into action, shoving the runner and bringing him crashing to the ground. The cop catches up, and it is a quick arrest after that. Number 18. Swift justice. Sometimes the wheels of justice need a push. In Sao Paulo, an SUV driver took matters into his own hands when he witnessed 2 thieves on a motorbike robbing a couple on the street. Captured by CCTV, the driver saw red and rammed his vehicle into the culprits. Earlier, the same suspects had tried to rob him too, which fueled his decisive action. In the heat of the moment, this driver turned his SUV into a tool for justice and showed that courage and quick thinking can make a big difference. Number 19. Boxer brawl.
Florida picked the wrong pharmacy to rob.
A guy in Florida decided to rob a Walgreens, thinking it was an easy score, but it was bad timing. Inside the pharmacy was a state boxing champ visiting his girlfriend behind the counter. He grabbed the guy and started throwing punches and landed hit after hit on the robber's face. The guy didn't stand a chance. Number 20. Marine tackle. This robber was robbing this store when a Marine happened to see him. Deciding to be the hero that day, the Marine slowly sneaked up to the robber. He then quickly put the robber in a hold, bringing him crashing down to the ground. But that was not it. The Marine proceeded to hold the robber down for a good 4 minutes until the cops arrived to arrest him. What a hero. Number 21. Crisis aversion. In a high-stress scene, a driver was starting his shift when a man jumped into his car, brandishing a gun. The robber demanded money, wallet, and phone, and forced the driver to comply quickly or face dire consequences. Desperately, the driver explained he had just started work and had nothing to offer. The robber grew more insistent and threatened to harm him if he didn't get what he wanted. The driver handed over what little he had. Just as tension peaked, the unmistakable red and blue lights flashed behind them. The driver's heart soared as a cop approached and commanded the robber to show his hands and exit the vehicle. The cop ensured the robber was disarmed and quickly took control of the situation. The driver's gratitude was immeasurable. So, in the darkest moments, help may be just around the corner. Number 23. Karate heroes. In 2023, a man was returning to his car when two men in sweatshirts snatched his keys right out of his hand. Just as the carjackers were about to make off with the vehicle, two men came up and decided to bust their car to make the carjackers stop. These unexpected heroes worked at a karate school across the street and didn't hesitate to jump into action. Their sudden intervention startled the carjackers, who fled the scene without the car. Number 24. Martial justice. If you plan to rob a hotel, make sure there aren't any martial arts experts nearby, goes the saying for a 30-year-old who probably thought robbing this Los Angeles hotel would be a breeze. He walked in, inquired about the price of a room, and then brandished his loaded handgun and demanded money. The clerks feared for their lives and complied with him. But fate had other plans. As the left door opened, two martial arts experts in town for a tournament stepped out. Without hesitation, they sprang into action and grabbed him, wrestled the gun from his grip, and took him down with a precise leg sweep. Holding him on the ground, they waited until the police arrived to arrest him. Number 25. Botched break-in. It was just another Saturday night when the owner of a Surrey business received an alert on her phone from the store's security system. Watching live, she saw a would-be thief smashing through the glass and wrestling with the security gate. But she was prepared. This wasn't her first rodeo. The intruder quickly realized the store held nothing of immediate value and decided to make a swift exit. However, his plan took a turn for the worse when he found himself unable to slip back out. The security gate was firmly in place, and the alarm was blaring loudly. Panic set in as he desperately searched for an escape route, but every attempt failed. It wasn't long before the flashing lights of the police cars illuminated the store, signaling the end of the botched break-in. The thief was now cornered and helpless and was soon escorted out by the authorities straight into a squad car. Number 26. Heroic teen. At a gas station in Las Cruces, New Mexico, a man tried to abduct a pregnant woman's kids and got into fights with anyone who tried to stop him. The mum was super scared and locked herself and her kids in the bathroom. Everyone was feeling totally helpless with the attacker until a 16-year-old wrestling champ from the district showed up. He wasn't even there at first. He was at another gas station across the street. When he heard commotion, he ran over and without thinking twice, he tackled the man and brought him to the ground. Despite all the chaos, He stayed calm and kept the attacker in check. Other employees got involved, but the champ, confident in his wrestling skills, reassured them that he had everything under control. Number 27, baby stroller. These two people were standing around when suddenly some ladies with a baby stroller came running by. Apparently, another woman was trying to steal their baby. The two quickly jumped into action, getting in the way of the kidnapper and putting themselves in front of the baby. It worked, and a cop can be seen coming by to prevent any further harm. Quick action saved the day. Number 28, gasoline spray. A guy was just filling up his tank at the gas station right in the middle of his workday. Suddenly, a van screeched to a halt beside him, and out jumped a bunch of robbers who were ready to hijack his car. But this guy, he didn't panic. Instead, he pulled the nozzle out of his car and started spraying gasoline all over the robbers and their van. The robbers, now terrified of the very real possibility of going up in flames, scrambled back into their van and sped off, tails between their legs. This quick-thinking hero managed to thwart the robbery without breaking a sweat. His actions not only saved his car, but also sent those robbers running for the hills. Number 29, jewelry heist. In a daring nighttime heist, Tennessee police officers interrupted a jewelry store burglary in progress. On December 2022, the Franklin Police Department rushed to a shopping mall south of Nashville. Bodycam footage captured the intense moments as officers burst into the mall, only to find suspects wielding a sledgehammer and smashing through glass jewelry displays. The suspects scattered into the mall, but the officers were hot on their heels. There was an intense chase that ended with a fight between a suspect and an officer. In the end, 4 suspects were arrested. Number 30, Phoenix defense. A watched door never gets broken into. In Phoenix, a homeowner's surveillance camera caught these suspects kicking in the front door, but the homeowner was alerted by a motion sensor and was ready with a gun. Just as they busted in, the homeowner fired rounds and sent the intruders scrambling back to their gray car and speeding off before the police could arrive. Number 31, brave response. When duty calls, heroes answer. At Feeding Georgia Families, volunteers were gearing up to distribute food when a man with a gun darted through their parking lot. The chief manager sprang into action and confronted the suspect. He held the situation steady until police backup arrived. Number 32, unflinching service. In a New Zealand shop, an employee was helping a customer when a man in all black stormed in, holding a gun and a backpack, and demanded money. But you know what? The cashier completely ignored him. Instead, he calmly handed over the customer's lunch like it was just another day at the office. The robber was clearly baffled by the lack of reaction and stood there awkwardly. The cashier then simply walked away, not even sparing the guy a glance. The would-be thief realized he was getting zero attention and eventually just left, probably more confused than he was when he entered. Number 33, lockdown paradox. 2 bandits wearing hospital masks decided to stage a terrifying home invasion. They casually strolled up to the porch and rang the doorbell. The unsuspecting homeowner answered, only to be met with a sudden burst of aggression as the robbers forced their way in. This fierce struggle broke out and spilt out onto the front lawn. The homeowner, fighting for his life, managed to fend off the intruders. Number 34, unlikely heroes. The greatest battles are fought with pizza in hand. At a Hollywood pizzeria, a senseless crime unfolded as a man sucker-punched and robbed an old man by punching him. In shock, the restaurant owner next door sprang into action, chasing the assailant down. The struggle was intense, spilling onto the busy street. The owner's girlfriend and another woman jumped in and retrieved the stolen items. When the thief resisted, she stood on his legs and even kicked him to keep him subdued. It was like a scene from an action movie, playing out in slow motion. The owner couldn't believe it was the same man he had been helping for months, offering food and water. Number 35, sword versus machete. This robber thought he was cool coming in with a machete. Well, he changed his mind when the owner pulled out a sword. The owner then proceeded to chase the robber, who was now running full speed out of the store.
A would-be thief broke into an Omaha jewelry store around 11:30 Saturday night.
The sword chaser. A bunch of crooks crashed into a store and brought the entrance to rubble. The thieves then raided the store, trying to smash down the shelves, but their efforts weren't quite getting them the loot they wanted. So, while the knuckleheads tried to figure out how to grab the jewels, the owner was preparing for battle. The guy went to the back, armed himself with a sword, and came racing after the crooks. The thieves started scrambling in panic, seeing the crazy owner running after them. The owner turned the tables on the smash and grabbed crooks, beating down on their car as they tried to flee. Hit by a surprise, a thief in the middle of the road was trying to snatch a woman's purse, but he didn't know karma was on his tail. This guy riding a motorbike saw the pesky thief wrestling with the purse and wasted no time in crashing into him. The thief was thrown onto the road, panic drooping down his face. He stumbled as he got up to run. The motorcyclist chased after him, blocking his path. The thief now was at the center of attention, and he knew. So he left the bag behind and fled on foot. Poor guy never saw it coming. Trapped inside. This guy spent a lot of time smashing down the glass counter at the bank with a sledgehammer. He did manage to make a hole to sneak inside, but didn't know he had dug a much deeper hole for himself. The manager had locked the cash inside the safe when she saw the guy banging on the glass. While the crook looked here and there to find some money, a crowd gathered on the other side of the counter. They all trapped the robber inside while the cops came down to arrest the guy trapped inside. The 3 unlucky rounds. This pickup truck looks pretty tough, but it is about to fail against a boring door. The crooks tried to plow through a store using a stolen truck, but their plan failed miserably. So, they went around a second time and then another, adjusting their speed in the next couple of rounds. But the result was sadly the same. The crooks were so shocked that the 6 of them tried to see if there was any gap that they could sneak in from. But the door hadn't even budged. They stuffed themselves inside the truck and bolted the scene. The stakeout. The biggest mistake of these crooks was using the same car for their heists. Too bad the cops caught on their scent when they were on their next hunt. The driver went to assess the store first. He went back to the car and brought 2 more men with him down to the Karma jail. The men were seen stuffing their bags with perfumes, having no clue the store had set off a silent alarm. The cops raided the store and chased down the robbers, placing them under a quick arrest. The dumb boys. This owner did a pretty good job setting up the glass door. The crook came in an SUV and plowed it against the entrance. The crash worked in, smashing down the glass, but it just wasn't enough. The guy tried to grab a bottle from the small gap, but ended up failing pretty badly. So he hopped back on his ride and fled. In and out, these guys wore masks and brought sledgehammers. On paper, they could have raided the store. But there was one big problem. Karma was on their tail. The men barged inside the store and walked back out without smashing a single shelf. The reason? The owner had pulled out the gun. He didn't even have to use it. One look at the gun sent them toppling over one another as they tried to run. Shut her down. 2 masked men dropped by this store and thought that they could steal from the outside. But they had highly underestimated the store owner. The crook started smashing the glass while the other stood by his side to fill up the bags. But their genius plan failed when the owner dropped the shutter on them, almost choking them. The crooks fled before they could be trapped, but with a small loot in their bags. chased away. A group walked inside the store ready to pull off their grand heist. One of them brought down the guard using pepper spray. The others started smashing the glass off the shelves. But the store owner pulled up to his hero mode and threw a chair at the crooks. That's when the workers got riled up and surrounded the crooks. The robbers fled with the crowd chasing after them while the guard looked dumbly back at the chaos. The battleground. This stolen pickup truck didn't quite do its job on the first try. The crooks looked around for a gap to slide through, but they couldn't find a gap. So the truck sped up and then pulled back at the entrance again, plowing through the glass door this time. But their mistake gave enough time to the store owner to pull up his defense. As the crooks tried to sneak into the store, they were met with open fire from the owner. The robbers scurried away in a hurry and bolted the scene. Rock-hard defense. This car is enough defense against those pesky smash and grab thieves. A group came carrying bats to smash down the window and rob the owner, but they couldn't even put a scratch on that glass. The car paced forward, and the robbers sprinted in the opposite direction with visible panic on their faces. Met with the cops. A few thieves had sneaked their way inside the store. They must have somehow overtaken the employees, but they were smart. They sent a silent alarm to the cops while the crooks raided the store. When the cops came, the crooks were busy smashing down the shelves. The cops raced after them, and one of the crooks even dared to start a brawl with the officer. All of them were arrested, so their gutsy spirit pretty much went down in vain. Smashing for an escape. Two men barged inside the store, intending to steal good loot. One of them pepper sprayed the owner and the customer, while the other smashed the shelves to dust. While the two were busy raiding the shelves, the owner locked the door and fired at them. That sent the crooks into a state of panic. The crook smashed the front door with the hammer and fled, barely escaping. The shatterproof glass. Sometimes you need to let the store handle its defense. A group of 7 crooks rushed inside the store carrying hammers and pepper spray. While some of them kept the workers at bay, the others tried to tear the shelves apart. But no matter how much they pounded on the glass, it just wouldn't break. The hasty escape. This guy came alone to get the job done, but his tough act was no match against this old man. The crook barged inside the store and pounded on the shelf once. The store owner came rushing towards the crook and shoved him hard. The crook tried to attack, but left when he saw the crowd coming to the store. The brazen attempt. A group of crooks had a genius plan underway, or so they thought. The masked men hooked up a chain to the store's entrance and tied it up with their SUV. The car paced forward, leaving not even a dent in the door. The crooks tried again, but their luck just wasn't with them. Karma was tough. The owner had done a pretty good job, so the men went back into their clown car and escaped the scene. Struck by your own. These knuckleheads went on a grand mission to pull off a heist and ended up getting embarrassed on the internet. The men used a stolen truck to slam on the store's entrance. They managed to bring down the wall of defense, but ended up hitting one of their own. A crook had sneaked his way inside the store when the truck kept pushing back into the entrance. The crook inside tried to find his balance with the rubble dropping down on him when another plow came, throwing him on the floor. He was swept off his feet a couple of times, giving him instant blows of karma. The Grandpa Power. This Irish establishment was almost empty when a bunch of crooks barged in through the front entrance. They thought that they could take down the 2 old men, but boy oh boy were they wrong. The crooks raided the place, only to be single-handedly thrown out the exit by an old man. The Super Grandpa wrestled down one man and shoved the others. The thieves tried to show him the gun, but that only made the old man more angry. The crooks got so scared that they walked out themselves. The old man then came again for the one crook trapped inside and threw him out too. The young boy's attempt. This beggar on the sidewalk thought of pulling off a smash and grab, but the odds weren't in his favor. The young boy banged loudly on the window, but the car sped up in response to escape the boy's sudden attack. The driver behind rammed on the horn, startling the kids. That's when they tried to cover their feeble attempts, but they were already caught on camera. Fast and furious. This might look like a scene from a Hollywood movie, but I guess this clip got thrown into the unused audition tapes. 3 men on a motorbike raced towards a truck, stopping inches before its door. One crook from the middle hopped out, broke the lock open, and handed back the bolt cutter to his friend. Then, the bonehead jumped up on the motorcycle and climbed on the truck's back door. While doing so, he somehow kicked the motorcycle. The vehicle flipped over, sending the 2 crooks down on the road, blowing away at a blazing speed. The crook gave one look at the mess he made and thought it was best to put a halt to their grand scheme. The man dropped back down on the high-speed road, flying away to God knows where. The armored defense. A crook was waiting on the side to pull off a solo hunt on this armored truck parked among a fleet of cars. But when the guard came, the crook fell short on his defense. He raced towards the guard, but ended up running away within seconds. The guard had a gun handy, and he didn't shy away from using it. Wrong store to rob. These guys thrashed their car in an attempt to rob this store, but got nothing in return. The crooks smashed down the entrance, throwing shards of glass everywhere, but they couldn't get the ATM to move. They tried another time, but their efforts proved futile again and again. The crooks left with a pretty battered car out the exit. Knife in a gunfight. This guy was pacing outside the store. With the small courage he mustered, the guy ended up facing a pretty tough store owner. He walked inside, carrying his hatchet, thinking it would scare off any man. But not this store owner. He showed his hatchet to the store owner, who pulled out his gun in response. The two shared the longest look, but then the crook waved the white flag. He put his weapon on the counter and raised his hands in the air. The owner was calling the cops, but the crook didn't want to wait around for that. He bolted out of the exit as soon as he got the chance. The quickest attempted robbery.
A would-be thief broke into an Omaha jewelry store around 11:30 Saturday night.
A crook threw a brick inside this store to crack a gap open. It gave enough space for the crook to enter, but the noise alerted the worker sitting in the back. The crook probably thought no one was inside. While he was busy searching for the jewels to grab, the worker came running from the back with a gun in his hands. He didn't even have to use it, and the crook was already on his way out from where he came. Running tape of buffoonery. This is probably one of the funniest clips you'll see today. This guy comes in, threatening the worker to give him cash. The employee told him to go to the other side if he wanted cash. The bonehead obliged. He probably realized halfway through he should have the upper hand, so he hopped over the counter to make the worker hurry up, but she threw him down. The guy sat back again like a toddler who was scolded. The worker caved in and gave him a shopper and the cash so he could get busy. Her plan worked because the greedy robber got so distracted with the cash that he left his gun on the counter unattended. The worker snatched the gun, and that was enough to send the robber running out the exit. But then, the knucklehead came again, asking for the gun. All the worker had to do was point the gun at him, and he was off running. I bet he thought to himself if he should drop by again. The banana attack. This crook barged inside the store, pretending to be a shopper. As soon as he got to the counter, he tried to snatch the cash on the other side. The store owner pulled out bananas and smacked the robber with her friend's help. The robber tried to wrestle, but it went in vain. He ran out the door with bananas trailing after him. 3 people, 2 brain cells. These guys used a car to smash down the glass entrance. Their plan worked, but the trio couldn't get the ATM to move an inch. So they thought they would smash the machine down too. The crooks made one more power move against the ATM, crashing inside the store this time. But that plan failed more miserably than their last one. They could neither move the ATM nor their car out the exit. Somehow, the boneheads slid through the small gap out the door and bolted the scene in the other car. Failed robber gets arrested. This crook walked into the bookies club with a garden shear in his hands. He tried smashing the glass with a brick and then a chair, but nothing worked. So he slid through the small gap to steal the coins. But as he was fleeing, the dumbhead dropped a few of those coins on the floor. The store owner alerted the cops, and they found him next door. The guy got arrested and, embarrassed, live on the same day. The dumb boys. A couple of young boys walked into a jewelry store, pretending to be interested in buying. As the owner showed them the jewels, one of the crooks pulled out his gun, holding the owner at bay. But this rusty attempt didn't get them much farther because the other crook couldn't find a way to smash down the shelves. Using that sweet time, the owner went in the back and came back with a shotgun. The sight alone was enough for the boys to halt their grand heist. They ran out the door with their feet backward. The futile offense. These men walked into the store late at night. The trio saw the camera and pulled the masks up closer to their faces. They tried to hammer down on the shelves, but the glass wouldn't budge against their attacks. The trio looked around for anything to grab and take, but it was no use. The crooks left empty-handed. Taste of your own medicine. This guy might have gotten away with his smash and grab, but he ended up getting chased by karma. The man smashed the entrance and walked out, stealing a few dollar bills from the cash register. But when he had parked his bike out of the store to sneak inside the entrance, a wandering explorer had found his bike parked unattended. The man grabbed it and drove it out of the small alley. The man pulled a theft and got robbed, all in a matter of a few minutes. The solid defense. Sometimes all an owner needs to do is put up a solid barrier at the entrance, and the crooks will spend hours trying to break it down. These guys used a car to break the entrance. When that didn't work, one of the crooks hopped out to use a hammer. They spent a good amount of time trying to split the door open, but it was no use. The crooks packed themselves in the 2 cars and went their way back from where they came. Quick thinking. A white car filled with crooks stopped in the middle of the road to attempt a smash and grab theft. But the cars behind caught up on their feeble act so fast that the crooks couldn't even grasp what had happened. One driver took a massive turn and pushed his car back on the road in the opposite direction, while the other driver swerved through the small gap and sped away. The crooks were left baffled, staring back at each other dumbly before fleeing away.
Another off-duty police officer has been robbed.
Date night. It was supposed to be a romantic night out for Chase and Nicole, but instead of just dinner and a movie, they ended up starring in their own action flick. Their peaceful evening was interrupted by a masked man with a gun. Nicole's hands went up so fast, you could almost hear her thinking, "Is this part of the dinner show?" But Chase and Nicole weren't just any couple. They were off-duty cops. Talk about taking your work home with you. Without missing a beat, they pulled out their service pistols and went after the robber, probably thinking, well, there goes dessert. The robber didn't stand a chance. He was probably wondering, why his heist turned into a real-life game of cops and robbers. Rolex. The Metropolitan Police pulled off some serious undercover work in London's Soho, catching thieves who thought they were about to steal luxury watches. Instead, they were robbing undercover cops. In one sting operation, the Met arrested 31 robbers in a year, with 14 already sentenced. It was a clean sweep, and Commander Ben Russell of Met Intelligence probably enjoyed reporting those numbers. So, if you're in London flaunting a fancy watch, know that the Met's watching, and if you're a thief, you might just be the next one caught in their undercover trap. Stop. Off-duty Newton officer Leader Dave Tempesta turned a simple coffee run into a heroic moment. While he was at the corner mini-mart, a man with a knife tried to rob the store. Tempesta quickly pulled out his gun, and a struggle broke out. The store clerk and some customers helped take the man down. Bin. Huron police responded to an alarm at Vacation Land Federal Credit Union. They found a blue recycling bin under an access door in the drive-thru. To their surprise, 27-year-old Tristan Heidel dropped from the ceiling into the bin. Police quickly arrested him and found construction tools in his backpack. Heidel was charged with breaking and entering, possession of criminal tools, and safe-cracking, and held on a $50,000 bond. Tennessee. At Jared Jewelry Store in Thoroughbred Village, a sharp-eyed employee spotted someone dressed like a low-budget heist movie character, hoodie, mask, hat, and sunglasses at night, and reported it. Undercover officers followed the suspect to a van, tracking it to Cool Springs Galleria. 4 masked people jumped out and rushed into JCPenney. They smashed glass, pepper sprayed an employee, and one even tried to grab an officer's gun. NYPD. An off-duty police officer got a taste of the crime he usually fights. 3 suspects who apparently decided that Main Street in Inwood was the perfect place for a stick-up last Friday. The officer and 2 others were just minding their own business when these 3 hooligans showed up and gave one of them a free, painful knock on the head with a gun. They really took hitting the town to a new level. After helping themselves to jewelry, cell phones, and wallets, they made a hasty exit, probably to find the nearest pawn shop, or maybe just to compare their loot over a cup of coffee. Gunpoint. A man showed up to buy a used white BMW he found on Craigslist. Seems simple enough, right? But this story quickly turned into something far more dramatic. The unsuspecting buyer arrived around 10:30 p.m., expecting to drive away with a new-to-him car. Instead, he found himself face-to-face with 2 men who had a different kind of transaction in mind. These fellows, it turns out, were more interested in playing the role of robbers than car salesmen. As our buyer checked out the BMW, one of the would-be robbers decided to accessorize with his wallet. Amid this, the bullets found their mark on one of the suspects, a 39-year-old man who later succumbed to his injuries at the hospital. Daylight. In broad daylight, because why not, a couple of wannabe robbers decided to try their luck with a former Marine. The whole thing got caught on security cameras, including the rear-view camera of the guy's Tesla. So, these geniuses followed him home from church and Home Depot in their dark-colored sedan and decided to kick off their robbery attempt by telling him, "Hey, someone hit your car." Classic move, right? Well, the Marine wasn't buying it. Before he knew it, they pepper sprayed him. But here's the thing, he was wearing glasses. Turns out those specs gave him just enough of an edge to fight back, and he did, hard. The attackers, probably expecting an easier target, were caught totally off guard. To make matters worse for the would-be robbers, a landscaping crew just happened to be working nearby and jumped in to help. They chased off the attackers, who clearly didn't think this one through. NYPD officer. Off-duty NYPD officer robbed at gunpoint. A 23-year-old rookie cop in New York City became the target of a gunman just after midnight near Garrison Avenue and Borrego Street in Hunts Point. Surveillance video shows the gunman approaching the officer as he was getting his bag from his car trunk after a late shift. Even though the officer tried to back away, the gunman held him at gunpoint and stole his wallet, keys, and badge. It's no surprise that residents were stunned and worried about their safety, given that a cop was the victim in their neighborhood. Connecticut. The suspect, named Ruben Muller, was outside his car and fled when asked for his license, running toward a nearby Taco Bell. Trooper Godbout chased Muller, used his taser, and temporarily stopped him. Muller got up and continued running, but fell again after colliding with a truck. Brazil. In a crazy display of macho-ness, an off-duty military police officer, Sergeant Rafael Sousa, took down 2 armed robbers while holding his baby in one arm. If that's not multitasking, I don't know what is. JSO. Well, Officer J. Collier had quite the time, one can say. He was on the hunt for a truck linked to an armed robbery in Lake County and spotted it at a gas station on Jacksonville's west side. Things got intense when he noticed a rifle on the passenger seat and saw the truck's owner, Brenton Paquin, casually strolling in with his dog. When Collier asked Paquin if the truck was his and told him to sit on the curb, Paquin decided to make a beeline for his truck instead. He reached inside for a handgun and aimed it at Collier, who quickly fired back and took Paquin down. Thankfully, Officer Griffin, who's also got EMT training, jumped in to provide first aid until the paramedics showed up. All wrong. This video is like a script titled "Everything That Can Go Wrong with a Robbery." The guy first stole the car and then appeared in front of the soldiers with a gun. And well, yeah, you guessed it right. The officers weren't having any of it, and they showed him who they were in an instant. What do you guys think of this? Let me know in the comments below. Bank robbery. An off-duty Mount St. Joseph police officer, Carl Rauschenberger, was at a key bank in Colleran Township, handling some personal business when he found himself in the middle of a robbery. 2 men, including Malcolm Jones, were holding up the bank, with Jones waving his gun around like he was in an action movie. Officer Rauschenberger, gun drawn, took a tactical position and ordered Jones to drop his weapon. The whole thing was caught on video. Hamilton County Prosecutor Joe Dieters was stunned by this, saying the bank should be ashamed of itself. He even wondered out loud what might have happened if the officer hadn't been there. Raincoat. Okay, so it all started when Pineville police got a call about shoplifting at the Food Lion on Johnston Road. Sergeant Adam Roberts, who was nearby, decided to respond. The suspect was well known to the police for his frequent shoplifting and violent behavior. When Sergeant Roberts spotted Bodden walking away with a bag of stolen groceries, he told him to stop, but Bodden ignored him and kept walking. Sergeant Roberts followed Bodden across the street, and when Bodden became confrontational, Sergeant Roberts tried using a taser, which didn't work. Officer Down arrived to help, but Bodden managed to grab his radio cord. During the struggle, Sergeant Roberts drew his gun when Bodden appeared to reach for it. After Officer Down yelled, Bodden was handcuffed, but he eventually became unresponsive. St. Paul police officer. On a Sunday night at Best Steakhouse, Officer Jonathan Valencia was having a peaceful family meal when a would-be robber decided to add a bit of drama to the evening. The thief, probably craving a tip for his own meal, decided to swipe the restaurant's tip jar, but instead of a quiet getaway, he ended up in a full-on showdown. The man, armed with a steak knife and clearly auditioning for a role in a cooking show gone wrong, tried to make his escape. Officer Valencia calmly revealed his badge and sidearm. He issued the classic cop line, "Drop the knife," and the robber did so faster than you can say, "Check, please." Cops gone wild. A Texas woman decided to turn her trip to Ulta Beauty into the plot of a Hollywood blockbuster. The day started off pretty normal. She allegedly did some shoplifting, got caught, and was handcuffed by the police. You know, just a regular Saturday. But our leading lady, 33-year-old Tosha Sponsler, wasn't about to let things end there. While the officers were busy rummaging through her bags of totally not stolen beauty products, Sponsler pulled off a move that would make Houdini proud. She somehow wiggled out of her handcuffs, squeezed through a tiny window partition, and slipped into the driver's seat of the police car. Yep, she literally stole the cop car. Then there was a high-speed chase. Sponsler hit the gas, all while the police were probably wondering if they just entered an episode of Cops Gone Wild. At one point, she even made a grab for the shotgun inside the vehicle, because why not go full action hero, right? The chase finally came to an end when a state trooper used a maneuver to make Sponsler lose control of the car. 7-Eleven. A police officer in West Covina, California, walked into a 7-Eleven and interrupted an armed robbery. This whole thing was captured on security cameras and took place on January 17, 2024. Ramon Gonzalez, a 48-year-old man, was trying to rob the store. He asked the clerk for cigarettes, then showed a gun and demanded money. Just as Gonzalez was about to leave with the cash, Sergeant Hernandez, a uniformed officer, entered the store. The store clerk quickly alerted the officer, who immediately chased Gonzalez. The officer caught him outside, finding both the stolen money and a loaded gun on him. Old man. A peaceful day outside an Ohio library suddenly turns into a real-life action scene. Police are chasing down a suspect, and things are getting pretty intense. But just when you think the guy might get away, a hero steps in, an elderly man with a cane. Yep, you heard that right. This quick-thinking grandpa saw the suspect running by and didn't even hesitate. With perfect timing, he sticks out his cane and trips the guy, sending him crashing to the ground. The cops, who were right on the suspect's tail, caught up in no time and made the arrest, all thanks to this brave senior. Gun. Think of this right. This officer, who was off-duty but still in full uniform, was gearing up for a shift at the Taylor Swift concert downtown. He was at a BP gas station near the Southfield Freeway and Joy Road, just paying for his fuel when out of nowhere, two guys decided to make a seriously bad decision. One of them, shirtless and probably not thinking straight, reached for the officer's gun. Yep, right there in the middle of the gas station, he actually grabbed it off the officer's hip. But our officer wasn't about to let that slide. He immediately grabbed the guy, and a tussle broke out. Now, most people might have panicked, but not this cop. Ricks. St. Louis police tried to stop 32-year-old Don Ricks, who was speeding over 100 mph on Pennsylvania Avenue. After crashing his car on Nebraska Avenue, Ricks got out and fired at the officers. Ricks was caught in a nearby alley after a short chase. One officer had a graze wound above his eye, but was fine afterward. Ricks wasn't injured, and police found a weapon at the scene. Santa Ana. In Santa Ana, a suspect in a Stater Brothers robbery ended up taking quite a hit. After allegedly robbing the store, he was punched to the ground by someone who clearly wasn't interested in a conversation. The authorities didn't want to talk to him as a witness. They aimed to charge him. As the saying goes, it's not about the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. Carjacking. Riverside police were on the lookout for a carjacked vehicle along Palm Avenue. When they found it, the driver refused to pull over and instead drove into an apartment complex. As he exited the car with a handgun, one of the officers fired 4 shots, hitting him once in the back. Stop. Well, this police officer is on duty even on his day off. The officer kept his cool even in such a situation. But it was all to get a hold of the robber. A bad day for robbery. The guy was arrested since the officer kept him under control until the police arrived. Attempted carjacking. I mean, one should be scared before attempting something like this. But you should be more scared if you end up robbing or messing with an off-duty cop. Because those guys have the training you don't. And clearly, these guys ended up with the wrong would-be victim. Knife. It's one thing trying to mess with a police officer and another to know he is a cop and swing a knife at him. I mean, this man is going to jail and he's going for long. Real smart, Karen. The award for the dumbest criminal goes to this Karen who literally called 911 to turn herself in. You heard that right. She turned herself in. How did it happen? Well, she hid somewhere inside the store and waited for it to close. Then she got out and had the entire store to herself as she went on a huge shoplifting spree. But I'm not sure what she was thinking. Did she really expect the doors to be open? Turns out, Karen ended up getting trapped, and after several minutes of trying to escape, she had to call 911 and turn herself in. I hope this is a movie scene. You've got to be kidding me. There's no way this actually happened. I mean, dragging an ATM machine in broad daylight in front of hundreds of people. This is a joke, right? And what's crazier is how there's a news reporter filming the entire scene live. Trust me though, I did my research and there's nothing fake about it. Everything checks out. As cartoonish as it looks, this actually happened, people. I don't know what's more embarrassing, dragging an ATM machine through a busy street or their intelligence. Drunk on the job. Don't drink and steal, or this is what'll happen. Kind of ironic how he's here to steal more liquor, but I guess no one told him about these new barriers. He flips upside down and nearly gets knocked out after such a miserable fail. Ouch. This is perhaps the best moment of instant karma I've ever seen. What could possibly go wrong? Well, the worst you could end up with is a broken arm. And I mean this both literally and figuratively. These carjackers left empty-handed that day. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Until next time, stay safe and keep the action on screen, not in real life.